Another episode of Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. This is the place where you're entitled to Brad's opinion. And now for your host, Brad Allard.
All right. Well, that was odd. We're back on the air.
What happened?
I don't know. Power surge, Victoria and I were talking. All of a sudden, the lights flashed off and they came back on and knocked us off the air. And so we're back. By golly, they can't keep us down.
We will prevail.
Hey, that's the first time that's ever happened during the show like that. The only other time we've had a technical malfunctions in Facebook was off the air or whatever it was.
I remember that,
The world came almost to an end, I remember. But anyway, we're going to just start over again, and this will be the show. And that first 5 minutes was just
a test run.
And we were right in the middle of talking about CrossFit Burleson, and boom, there it is. Anyway, we're going to talk with Victoria about what's going on at the city council. And I mentioned that first little segment about how boring and tedious it's been, and which is the way it should be,
just conducting business.
City government or any kind of government is a whole lot more grind work than it is, flash and
That's
publicity and all this other stuff. And I'm really glad, and even if you're too nice to say it, I'm really glad the personnel we have now on the city council is more involved or more interested in getting things done than, venting their spleen about some stupid thing.
It is nice to stay on task, not derail, not go on tangents.
We're also going to address what some people have misunderstood about 10 fire stations coming in our future or something like that. It was just people hear bits and pieces of it because, presentations on...
Well, something like that sounds like that's going to stick out to you. It sounds big and overwhelming, but you have to look at the other pieces of that context of 4-second response times. And
4 seconds. Wow, that's good. 4 minutes, you mean?
4 second.
How is it?
If we had 10... getting out of the station within 4 seconds or something to that effect. I don't know. They're absurd, metrics that, Dan said, okay, why are we even comparing ourselves against things that aren't achievable? If we know we can't do this, why do they stick these things out there? But what should, in the very next meeting, Chief Freeman discussed, how are we, what we truly are meeting, that we are doing what we're supposed to be doing as far as, whether it's a fire response, whether it's an emergency response, there's different levels and things. We're getting to citizens in an appropriate amount of time, and it's, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And so
that's good.
10 stations is just some astronomical way out, probably never going to happen, but 5 stations is it's still pretty big for us, and we know that that's coming. So how do we plan for that?
Particularly with the Chisholm development going on, you're going to have to shift a lot of stuff.
For Station 4, yes. And we know we've already that passed in the bond. We know that's coming. But the next thing we already have to start planning for is land banking for Station 5, because land it needs to be somewhere south of the South 35, and so much of that land is being bought up. And if we want, knowing that it's going to come at some point, we're going to have to land bank, not necessarily plan to build yet, but just be prepared with the land in an optimum location that we can adequately respond to things, not just along I-35, especially given that we have 2 major business parks on both sides of 35, but also coming back toward town. So the East Renfro side of town, those things are in our city limits, and right now, the only station we have that responds to all of that is 16, and there's lights, and there's one-way access roads.
I gotta. Speaking of business, I gotta.
You need to plug your business support.
I'm like, this is.
Don't get me started. I get really.
I know. I can see it
about
now.
it.
I can see it at the Johnson house at the dinner table. Mom, I just asked for the peas. All right. Did you
Let
know?
me show you where peas grow.
Yeah, now let me tell you all about it and what the city's going to do about the shortage of peas. Anyway.
Next, we're just going to have our own podcast.
Hey.
There you go. I might know a guy.
Taylor,
I might
can you
know
help
a
me?
guy.
All right, let's plug your sponsors, because without them, we won't be here.
Right. CrossFit Burleson. We talked about them a little bit. That new ownership, and they're going to have these new plans, and they're very nice women. I enjoyed talking with them about a month ago. So CrossFit Burleson, 317 Southwest Wilshire. Also, Shandy is hot on the trail of a house. We were talking about this yesterday, so she's about to she has a couple of houses to show and present and whatever else.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she does really well at this. Because when we were selling my daughter's house a couple of weeks ago, I didn't know what was going on half the time, and it was a beating. And
It helps to have somebody who understands.
Yes, and has
can walk you
patience for
through it.
that.
Patience.
It's just so many little details. We're holding this paper for a day because we feel like it, and whatever.
It has the transfer come.
Yeah,
And blah, blah, blah.
yeah. And also our place with Otto. I'll be seeing you later this week, as always. It's always good food and good place. I know you're
We're a fan.
routine visitor there.
We do.
And what I like about it is that they know now the wait staff knows me by name and I know them by name, and it's kind of a hometown
Oh, they start
feel.
to recognize. It is. It's like that small town restaurant. They recognize you. But the food is always good. It's not, sometimes you go someplace and you're like, it's been better.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And their homemade soups out of this world.
I like the taco soup they make.
Do you? I'm a vegetable soup fan. It smells amazing.
And also, Chris, over at Wild Cigar, they got stuff going on Monday, Wednesdays,
so
and
pretty
Fridays.
in there.
It really is. It's a nice place. It's quiet, and you can get some things done. It's a good place to do business.
Have a chat, not have screaming music in the
Yes,
background.
and and if you want to watch the ball game, it usually is on in the background, but it's usually on mute, and so it's keep up with the Rangers or whatever without, but it's not be blowing you out like a sports bar or something like that. But anyway, thank you, Chris. Also, our friend Tiffany, she's apparently living the life this summer because I see her on Facebook and she's here.
Gone,
she's there.
Her daughter just wrapped up in nationals, which I experienced that a month before. So they did fantastic. Kudos to their dance
Is
studio.
this the same organization? Your daughters?
No, we dance at different studios, but I love to support local, and just there's several studios in Burleson, and they did fantastic. But it's fun to watch Tiffany cheer on so many local endeavors.
Yeah, I don't see how she does it. Put this magazine out and do all this mom stuff as well.
Oh, and by the way, she flew out to that the next day after her big party at the pavilion, which was sold out. She did phenomenal. There were tons of cars over there, tons of people. There's a activity area for kids. There's vendors for shopping. There's live music. It's phenomenal. She does a great job.
Well, I'm sure it'll be bigger and bigger every year.
Right? Isn't that cool?
Well, we had some couple of things I think that a couple of years now I think will be not just expected, but be like landmark events. I really think the business we had over Memorial Day weekend
with the Honey Tour Carnival and bike ride combination, that was phenomenal.
I see that being like not just some local thing, but like a regional thing.
We wanted, Burleson Parks, I'll give them credit. They kind of looked at the landscape and said, we need a staple event. Partnered with the chamber, that came together. I mean, people loved that carnival.
Yes. I'm going to have Gabrina on pretty soon, and I'm going to be, giving her the business for leaving the chamber.
She's just done phenomenal with it.
I know, but
she's got to make
she's
decisions for her family.
Yes,
we understand.
and we understand. The nice part of us, the selfish part of us wants us, tell you,
Stay here.
Yeah, your kid can eat out. You don't need to be home making supper. But no, we don't do that. All right.
She's been phenomenal.
Back to the business.
Similar to Miss Tiffany. She runs a great business and presents herself so well, and it's so easy to work with her. And I've really enjoyed this month, I guess she did a feature on some business in town that had a big anniversary. Who was it?
Now you see.
It was a good article, though. Now
they're
I'm
all
like,
good articles. I mean,
who was that? It was Alpha and Omega Pest Control.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm enjoying those features of businesses that have been around 20, 30, 40 years. Like, it's fun to celebrate that.
Speaking of which, have you been to Gayla's new place yet?
I haven't. Is it open?
Yeah. It opened about a week ago Friday.
Okay, good. This is perfect time for me to plan for Christmas.
Yeah. And you can take Philip along, you can park him over there in the husband bullpen, while you can look at your leisure.
Make my wish list.
Yeah, well, right, because sometimes the husband's like, TikTok, all right, I got the ball game's coming on. Oh no, the ball game will be on there, that kind of stuff. But Southern Gym has been open on the bottom floor now for about 8 days.
Cool.
And Robin says it's beautiful, and they got a lot of people going there just to sight
Just
see.
to see it.
Yeah.
I'm going.
Okay.
Grab my Doughboy donut and head over. Gosh, those things are awesome.
Yes, well, when you're old like me, a Doughboy donut put me in the emergency room. But anyway.
I split it with my kids.
Okay. And next we have our friends at Old Pro Roofing, John Williams, 817-734-2756. A very fine young man. I've gotten to know him through BNI and his father also.
Cool.
And they're both, this is a good family, the Williams family. And Old Pro Roofing does good work, and they're local. They're located in Old Town. So, I'm sure a lot of Burleson folks got people knocking on their door, with roofers, from all over DFW area. Well, that's great, but these are home folk, and so you know where to find them.
And you really want to work with people that you can trust and aren't trying to upsell you and do this and do that.
Right. And he inspected my roof and found no problems with it. And he didn't try to say, oh, well, there's a patch here, a patch there. He said, no, you're good. So
yeah, that's helpful.
Also, Melissa over at Texas Farm Bureau, 682-804-0534. The insurance, she told us in the last meeting, the insurance industry in Texas is going through a lot of turmoil because of a lot of natural disasters and expenses and all this. And a couple of major companies are going to quit writing new policies.
Interesting.
Yeah, and Texas Farm Bureau is not one of those new companies. They will be writing them, and they're I would definitely advise all of y'all out there, my vast listening audience, to check your insurance, because I did. I had a good insurance company. I wasn't paying a lot of attention to it. Melissa took a look at it and saved me some money.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so, and up my coverage. And so I really suggest that, because she was saying that the insurance rates are going to go through the roof.
Oh, they did this last year, so I'm sure they'll just keep climbing.
Mine, my car insurance went up like $20. My home insurance has not yet, and so I hope not. Anyway, and also Lisa Moore Smith, if you have some sort of damage, biohazards, fire damage, water damage, they're the one to call. They're local here. They're over by Chisholm Trail here in Crowley. And Lisa Moore Smith know what they're doing. They get it right the first time. So these last 4 people I've introduced are all BNI members, and so we get to see each other pretty much every week. And
that's business networking.
It's a networking group, yes. Cool. And it was, what I like about them is you get to know them as people.
Sure.
And and I always feel really, really, really good about who was sponsoring the show, because I know the character of the sponsor, and that really makes a big difference for everybody. But back to the city. Briefly, let's just knock this fire thing out. What had happened in a couple meetings ago? The fire chief comes up and goes through all of this presentation and data, and somehow I got out there. Maybe they latched onto something. He said about 10 fire stations to have this really, really quick response time.
Sure.
And people started, we're going to build 10 fire stations? And money issues and all that. We're starting to, they're doing the math in their heads. So maybe you ought to straighten out that particular misunderstanding.
We talk every so many years, some of our major departments will have a consulting group come in and kind of look at broad picture. What are you doing now? Where are you heading? And is it the right direction for the community and the way that it's growing? And it's helpful to have those perspectives, in particular people that are professionals in that, have the background. And if it's law enforcement, they've worked in law enforcement for years, or just so that some architect doesn't come in and say, well, we can build you this grandiose building, but is that really what you need? Is that going to house the staff that you're truly going to have? And the consultant had a background and actually still serves as a firefighter in the community where he works, and so he had a really insider perspective. But I think he was pretty thorough, and we have these like goal metrics, objectives.
Right.
In an ideal world, if everything runs perfect, this is the type of response times you should be shooting for, and every aspect of it has it. How quick should dispatch send this type of communication to the correct public safety unit, whether that's PD or fire. And then there's all these different types of metrics. And so you really have to think, once they give you all this information, then you whittle it down and decide what fits your community, right? What's actually doable. And he said, somewhere way in the future, you could have 10 stations. And we have a firefighter or a fire chief that's been in the business 40 years or something. He's long been a professional, similar to the police chief that we have. And so you balance that with, both of those individuals came from Fort Worth. And so they have those big city perspectives, million population. We just hit 51,000. And so, to say somewhere down the line, we could potentially have 10 stations, maybe, I don't know, that'd be long after I'm gone. But we do know the way the community is growing. We're planning for Station 4. It was in the bond package. And so that's for the west side of town's development. We know we have Chisholm Summit coming in. That's over 3,000 rooftops. And then our business park that will be alongside right off of 121, Hooper Business Park. We 3 meetings ago, we presented to the public that we are in talks with a trade school, craft masters. And so like those things are in the works. Those things are real and they're coming. We know the 3,000 rooftops are coming.
Is craft masters, I mean, is that a done deal more or less?
It's coming.
Okay. Rock and roll.
I mean, we have a 380 deal, which basically means like, we were in talks about them purchasing the land. What does that timeline look like? I mean, they would like to be open and have students in 3 years. They're real, like, hit the ground running. They've been working on this really since 2021. They've started talking. They've been serious about coming to Burleson, and we're really excited. And that's going to be a huge gateway into the west side of our town.
Where is this going to be located at?
121 and... what is that?
121.
14. The Chisholm Trail Parkway.
Oh, okay. See, I don't call
I'm
it that.
sorry.
All right.
Chisholm Trail Parkway, the tollway. And I believe that's 914, I want to say. Or is it 1020? Whichever exit is right there. I think it's 914.
Because I've driven the Parkway.
Yes. Yeah.
Bunch,
well, it's about to
is.
expand even further. So that's Chisholm Summit is on that west side. So we know these things are coming. So if you know they're coming, you need to be planning for them. So we put that Station 4 in the bond package. It passed. So, in the next couple of years, we'll start, or next year, now that we know that craft masters in these homes are coming, and
that's going to be a big one.
You can see Lakeway. When you turn on Lakeway now from 174 and you drive to the end of it, you see where 1020 is getting expanded. They're moving dirt. They're trucking along. I mean, it's kind of cool. And the city has been flying drones over every so often, every so many weeks out to see the progress, because I mean, there was a ton of drainage work that needed to be done to pour these roads, but it's going to be cool. And that's truly where the major growth of our city is about to come from, the west side. So we know Station 4 is needed and it's coming. We're planning for that. And the next station so we had one meeting where the consultant kind of gave his big overview of all the things they looked at: personnel, boots on the ground, all the way through administration and operations and they looked at all different types of aspects, the types of units you're going to need. Is it a ladder truck? Is it I don't know. They all have so many different names for all these different vehicles.
You're learning a lot, aren't you?
I am. It's fast and furious. But they look at the big picture, and then we sit down with the information that the chief does with the city manager. Okay, based on the information we were presented, we know these things are coming in the immediate. How do we address those? And so in the following presentation by the fire chief, he talked about, more like, let's start looking at Station 5, the growth along South 35, the 2 existing business parks we have there. We have to look at response times to them. We have to look at what all is coming, what land is being bought, and what kind of plans are they presenting the city when they are buying this land. So land banking is something we should definitely consider in the next budget, because if you don't purchase that land and have it set aside for city use, well, then things can be built all around it, and then you're left with maybe not such an opportune piece of land to put your station on. Right. And then does that really help your response times? Is that really beneficial to the city? And we're not just talking about responding to the south side, but also what it can do coming back north. So you think about all East Renfro, all the east side of town, and improving response times to that as it grows. You think about the developments off of 602.
Those new housing developments, the 100 estates off of Renfro, they're starting to put structures up now. Burleson city limits are very oddly drawn.
They are. And it's like skinny along 35, and then it's like skinny along East Renfro, but then it's heavy here, and the west side's about to get really dense. And so we don't, it's not just one big circle. It's kind of like.
Right.
And there's not an easy way to get to some of these areas that are part of our city. And so you have to think about that. Like, we expect this fire station to get all the way back over here. You drive through Briar Oaks, you drive through Cross Timber, and then you're back in Burleson land. It's there's not easy ways. There's not cut throughs that just make absolute sense.
And I'm thinking the people that live in Briar Oaks are not excited about maybe being annexed by the city. I know that one time they talked about it 10, 12 years ago, and they lit up. And
well, we can't annex them. Right. They took away that back in 07, I believe?
No, it's 19. No, 17. It was 17. I remember because there was a guy knocking on my door wanting my vote for it. Right. It was during a referendum for
Yeah.
the Constitution
Yeah,
of Texas.
constant. You're right. So we cannot just annex
I
them. Now
know.
they can ask, but
Well, this is during, I would say it's 10, 15 years ago. They wanted a big chunk of Briar Oaks, and they protested City Hall.
I remember hearing about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they had people picket in on Renfro and Wilshire, and like,
don't come after us. We like our country living.
well, where we're at, right outside the city, and frankly, the only thing I don't get that I wish I did is I don't get Burleson PD. I get the county.
County.
Yeah, but I still get fire protection, and because I pay a little extra for it and that kind of stuff. But it's
So the ESD doesn't respond to you, or is it? Okay.
no, the fire station, Burleson Fire will respond
Okay.
if it's in the neighborhood, and same with EMT and all the rest. But as far as if I need a police, I've only once in the 30 years I've lived there I've had to call the police, and it was about a minor thing. It wasn't like a criminal activity. And so we had to wait 20, 30 minutes because the nearest station is Alvarado, and we were in high priority. So, but anyway, back to the matter at hand. There's a lot of things going on. I had Alex Phillips on last week.
That was a great conversation.
And of course he knows everything.
He does.
Says very little, so, but he'll talk about the things that we know about. But
Sure.
we were going to do this in June. He said, "No, wait till July. I can talk to you more freely about certain things."
That's great.
Like that space on Summercrest and Wilshire.
Sure.
That old convenience store.
Oh my goodness, I know. That's a big one.
Yes, that is a big one.
It has been sitting there vacant and terrible looking, and people cut through that former gas station lot and almost cause accidents. We need to. I'm really excited about that because it needs to look prettier, and there's that's such a prime piece of real estate. It could be so many things, so I'm really looking forward to that.
He said it was the most expensive commercial property in the county, and so that's one reason why it stayed that way
It
for a long
stayed
time.
for a long time.
But I tell you, another expensive piece of property is going to be that old church. Now we demolished it. We talked about that as well. Do you have any inside information or any news about that, or is it just because he just said there's developers looking at it?
Yep, developers are looking. So
but
it's kind of like, what is the market saying to them? We rely on people in the private market to say this is going to work, or we're hearing this is doing really well. We think it could do here well in Burleson. So
yeah, well, Sarah Carlson and I were talking about all the things, and I know what you would like there. You'd like a mixed use kind of with retail
offices, restaurants,
I mentioned
something.
living spaces there, and Sarah goes, "No,
I know. I don't think that would be a good spot for it, but I would
No,
like to
it
see some offices upstairs, on the second floor that, pay well, maybe some type of smaller headquarters or something of that nature. And then on the bottom, maybe a restaurant with a cute courtyard, or maybe a coffee shop, or cute boutiques. We know, and just in the last couple of months, several boutiques moved into Old Town, so we know it's a prime spot. Extremely Refined moved down there, and Jackson. I don't know. I can't think of their name. It's going to come to me in a minute, but
Jackie Strickland's group there."
no, she already has her boutique
right.
down there. Yeah, we have some great
And there's
shops.
one right next to her. I forgot what it starts with an H. I forget. It's a kind of Western themed. And then you have Old Town Provisions.
Yes. Isn't that fun?
It is.
So,
I've been there 2 or 3 times. And
So we want to build up Old Town. I am a big proponent of that's a treasure. Not every town has a downtown square or an old town that they can keep and really make it a highlight for why people come to your town. And so I'd love to see some more of those new to market businesses, smaller businesses, and of course, those things partner well with a shop like City Market. I love that family, and I think that their little store is fantastic. We shop there regularly. My kids get excited about the little carts, and so
I've been talking to Camille. Bring back the ice cream.
Yeah. You can ask them to like, hey, do you carry turkey bacon? And like within a week, they had the Oscar Mayer turkey bacon that we like. And so, it's just small town feel and cool, neat businesses that don't already exist here. I think that Old Town has something special. And so we don't want just,
Well, a lot of people like to
big
what
chains.
if, what if I do this? Well, we do that. But,
But really, people in that market have to come. Like we don't have that much say as far as like we can say in order to get what we would really like to see there is a couple of headquarters that pay above such and such salary, and then we try to target those and say, hey, would you like to move to Burleson? But it's a lot of persuasive conversations, and then some of it's just out of our hands, and they say, look, that's not going to work in your community. And Alex is privy to studies that tell us, yeah, that's going to do really well here. This is not going to do really well here. You don't have enough traffic count. You don't have enough people on foot to make this or that work.
Well, there's also, part of me also wants to keep some part of Old Town not so much undeveloped, but, I don't want to plow over those pecan trees behind the B&G lot, where I'm talking about near Nola Dunn. I'd like to see us keep that. And make
you just want it as a green space.
As a green space,
trees.
yeah. Well, because I guess as I get older, I'm getting a bit more green in a sense. They say I'm getting more liberal, but you know me better than that.
Way,
So you wouldn't think I'm this bleeding heart liberal. Wait till I talk about government services in a minute. But anyway, the point is that we have spaces that we can develop without having to,
develop.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what I would like to see as far as that space is like having some green space, having, it's good for your emotional health, your mental health to have space that isn't concrete everywhere.
Well, speaking of that, Alex brought up the fact that the old police station is going to be leveled. And there are going to be parking lots there, but also he said there'll be a pad for retail. And there's a couple of nice trees on that corner. I'd like to see them.
We do too.
Do you put those kind of restrictions or provisions on a developer? Say, we want you to develop this, but we want you to cut down as few trees as possible.
Absolutely. If we own it, and yes, we absolutely say we want to keep this at all costs, work around this. It's hard to get trees. You drive into some of these developments and you're like my development, I was paying attention the other day, Philip was driving. So I'm looking, I'm like, this main street, all of that trees are well developed. And then you drive a little bit further in and there's like a twig, and that it's shade on your house. It just makes everything feel more developed and well taken care of. And it just calm and clean looking.
Right.
It speaks volumes when you have a neighborhood or a development that has good landscaping and is just well designed.
Right.
And so, yeah, absolutely. That pad site will be, it's such a good location but prime parking, because we hear that over and over. Bring things to Old Town, but where are we supposed to park?
Well, he said also that the city has contracted out with First Baptist, and
We do.
Is there going to be like a little tram car or whatever to tow them back and forth? I mean, we do that. I'm a member of that church, and we have a couple of those for people to come.
They're so generous in volunteering those for special events that we've had, but it's something we should come back and visit, but we got to get people using the lot. So we have this mutual use contract agreement with the church, and they've been wonderful to work with. So we have all of those parking spots available to Old Town users and shoppers, and but I don't think it's getting enough use yet to warrant a regular type of shuttle. But I think once Razzoos and Heim, and I said this a year ago, once Razzoos and Heim are actually open and online and people are parking over there, then that's going to be a conversation we're going to have to revisit, because at the time we were kicking around like, does valet work? I personally, I don't want to see valet. I don't think that works, but you can easily jump on a little tram. But
that's much
the other thing we have to think of is all downtown areas have these issues. Mansfield, my family did the pickle parade, a few months back, and we parked a couple miles down the road at Legacy High School, and we caught a little tram down to the main street. And you look at downtown Fort Worth, you have to park in either Sundance parking garage or the parking garage down by the movie theater, and then you walk. So it's just,
if you're lucky at night, you might get a street space.
Maybe. And a lot of times they have those blocked off for valet.
Or if you have a big event going on at the convention center, they're all gone.
So we're going to have to...
You're going to need it, though.
We have to look at things a little bit differently and say, okay, I can't get right in front of Grumps, but I can get I've started, whenever we eat at Fresco's or Grumps or Pandan, any of those right there, we just go ahead and park in that small lot on the other side of Renfro, directly across on Main. We park over there, and then we walk over. We use the flashy buttons, and I make sure people slow down. But my kids love parking over there. And then we have a race, and we get across.
Well, here's the thing, though. But you mentioned Razzoos, you mentioned Heim, but there also is that steakhouse, that train theme. I keep forgetting.
Station 330.
Yes, I thought that was it, but I don't want to mistake it. Also, when the depot on Main, that apartment comes online, then you definitely going to have tram service or some sort of
and that,
public accommodation.
right, yeah.
It's
And
just,
they
it's
will
just gonna
have,
happen.
that's a benefit of people that will get, I used to live in downtown Fort Worth, and Philip lived off of Crockett Street on around 7th. And so we'd get to one of our apartments and then we'd walk everywhere. And so the benefit of having people living in the depot on Main is they can walk to City Market to get their groceries. And we can, if we make it more pedestrian friendly, which we really have to work on, and we are, expanding sidewalks, better lighting, because foot traffic has to be incorporated. We have to look at things as not just vehicles, but how do people get places on bike, on foot, on scooter? What's it going to be? And having mixed use or mixed avenues of how you get places in Old Town.
And the property values of Old Town have gone up through the roof. I mean, I was looking at a house about 2 years ago for my daughter, possibly, and it was expensive for like a 1,200 foot house. 1,100 foot is like $350. And oh my gosh,
It's kind of my dream, like when Philip and I are ready to retire, to have a little house in Old Town.
well,
If it exists, if that kind of thing exists by
that's exactly-
then,
I
I sure
mean,
hope it does.
well, it would be nice to have that, but also, if I owned a house and I could get like 4 times the value for it or whatever it is.
You can't pass that up,
It's
right?
hard.
I know, it's hard.
And I've always, when I was much younger, I always thought, man, it'd be great to live in downtown. Even I don't mean like when I was 20. I mean, I was like, 10 years ago, I thought it'd be kind of cool to live downtown. But apparently, it's more stressful than people think.
I loved living downtown Fort Worth, and they had a trolley, Molly the trolley.
Molly the trolley, yeah.
I'd catch her on the corner, and I'd go to Bass Hall, or I went all over downtown, and I'd catch Molly.
You don't want to do that again, I guess, with 2 kids, but maybe.
Oh, I totally would.
But you would 2 kids?
Oh, yeah. Hold their hands.
Well, okay, fine. Well, then you also got issues about, grocery stores and stuff like that. But anyway, I would have done it. And COVID really took out a lot of my favorite joints down there. There was an Italian joint down there, La Taverna. I really liked it.
Oh, I know. I was
'Cause it was-
sad to see that go.
They had a really, really good happy hour.
I was going to say that. Their happy hour.
Yeah, well, half off on their pizzas.
Yes,
and
their pizzas.
and all that.
Oh my gosh, I
So
know.
it wasn't-
And there used to be a little grocery store. I think it was called Oscar's. So I'd ride Molly the trolley to Oscar's and grab cheeses and cute things, and then go back to my apartment.
Living the dream.
It was fun. Pre-children.
Yeah. Well. Now that's over.
Now I have this suburban life where my kids go to City Market and put all kinds of things in their little grocery carts and feel like they, the Jager family, they're so used to all their grandchildren that like any child that goes in there pretty much like, they're like, let them have the run of the place. Like, great. Please don't tell them Miss Jill. Like they don't need to have the run of the place.
Yeah. Well, that really has been a good thing about living in this community. And a lot of people that moved into this community have noticed that Burleson, despite all the stuff we see, the political season, is very, very friendly.
Friendly, welcoming, homey.
There's we get 99.9% of the people really are decent human beings, and they want to make a community work, even if you don't all agree on the same political agenda or same.
Just mutual respect
whatever.
for each other. It's okay to disagree, but we just have to be respectful of one
And
another.
I really honestly think I think a lot of that's going to be passed. More of the antagonistic part, because I'm optimistic that we see what's ahead of us in terms of the growth and the possibilities of this community. I mean, we got people putting up businesses all over the place, and if that's not a statement of confidence in your community,
right.
it's that's a good sign.
Yeah, and all of the things that like if things are going good, that's a reflection on the town. That's a reflection on people wanting to bring their businesses here. If things seem like turmoil and lots of arguing, and we also set an example for the whole community, how we conduct ourselves in public, how we conduct ourselves in those meetings. Like when there's bickering and unprofessionalism, well, then that carries out. It doesn't just stay within our 4 walls. And we want to be welcoming to businesses. We want businesses that pay well. We want small businesses to thrive, because like if those are doing well, then we're all doing well. We have places to shop and places to eat, and those are the businesses that support our local baseball team or softball team or whatever it may be. It's just you keep that small town feel by treating people that golden rule, treat them with kindness. And
well, they're not going to go to public events like the party at the pavilion if they feel like it's going to be a hostile environment.
Sure.
But you told me, I was out of town for the 4th, but you told me it was sold out.
It was sold
That's
out.
a great sign.
And my family is always across at Bailey Lake, and we, set up our chairs and we watch fireworks from just across. And but we watched all the cars pulling in and the sign that said parking lots full, and then I saw Tiffany's post that said sold out, and that's a testament to the people. That's an investment. She's investing in our town when she's putting on an event like that. The ladies that put on, the Brew Festival. We have
the Methodist ladies.
Yes.
I need to get to know them.
And Sarah Dickey, she's part of that crew too that's putting that together. I mean, it takes a lot of guts to put together these events, and the imagination and thinking through all the details that it takes to put on major events like this. And that last year was their second event, and I would have thought, y'all have been doing this for 10 years. I mean, it was just well thought out, well mapped out, traffic flow, parking. I mean, there's so many details to think through. And I really appreciate those individuals who come to the city and say, I want to put together this event. This next year, there could possibly there's plans for a barbecue festival.
Ooh,
and so,
that'd be great.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it takes guts, and you put a lot of yourself out there.
I
really commend these individuals that say, hey, I want to do this. Is the city interested in it? Hey, if you want to do the work, come on.
Barbecue.
I love barbecue.
Yeah, about a month from now, I have a friend that has a barbecue business, and she's going to come on the show and talk about it right before Labor Day, and she'd be the perfect contender for that because I've eaten their food and it's really good. It's called Smoking Pig. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I haven't.
Well, Smoking Pig did some stuff for Old Town, provisions and whatever else, and my friend Tamara runs it.
Cool.
Tamara Kilgore.
Cool.
And it's that's the kind of thing that we do. And I've asked, what made you decide to come to Burleson? I've asked businesses that when they're on the show or at the BNI meetings. And it's all the things we've been talking about. And Shandy says the people are moving here because we have good schools and good police and good fire. And
public safety is a big piece of that. We have a responsibility as council to, and as a city to, public safety is paramount. People want to know that they can go live their daily lives and be safe, and that if they call 911, we're going to be responsive, that the police are going to respond in an appropriate amount of time, that fire is going to respond. And then on top of that, you want roads to get places, and those public services have to be able to get to you in those events. And so we're really fortunate in this town, but we have to continue to look at big pictures.
And there's another picture we need to look at as well. And this is where I'm segueing into that part of our community that is struggling. Okay. And you know it well, of course. But I've had Jennifer Woods on from Harvest House and Debbie Beeman from Promises. And next up, you have Summer and Megan. And I have
Didn't you have Center for ASD on?
Yes, I was going to mention them. Center for ASD, plus the Reach for Johnson County is Thursdays.
Reach, yeah.
Center for ASD is on in about 2 weeks.
Cool.
And then on the 22nd of September, we're all getting together for Texas Giving Day, whatever.
I love that.
But they're telling me they're swamped.
They are inundated right now, and they have less money coming in and less volunteers. I mean, I don't.
Crazy 8 also be on next week, and they're saying the same thing. And, Shannon Sutter says, hello, how you doing?
Hello there.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, the point is that, I was kind of joking earlier. You would never confuse me with a liberal, would you?
No.
But I do believe that we need to amp up our government services, public services.
Public services.
Yeah, that may not make me a very good Republican, but I'll be fine with that. But is there a space there for the city to do something, not just to donate money or time, but
it shouldn't be money.
Well, you can't because of
it's the people's money.
Well, that and you got all, particularly when you have faith-based institutions, you get into all that thicket of church-state stuff.
Right.
But I mean, I'm talking about like publicly provided services. Is there a space in Burleson for that, or is that beyond our capabilities right now?
I think in Dallas, the city of Dallas partners with Dallas ISD to do a big back to school fair. And, I think we have to look at what are some of the big cities around our state, around our country that do some of these things, and how do they do it? How do they organize it? Because, a group came before council. I'm trying to think who it was. It's just escaping me right now, but they were talking about donor fatigue. Oh, it was Craig Couch, current president of the BOF. And there's such thing as donor fatigue. And also there's always new organizations popping up. And I think some of this, we've had, over all these years, we've had so many conversations in our community about, can we pool resources? Are we duplicating services too much that like it's kind of becoming watered down? How do we work together? And I really commend, I feel like in the last year or two, some of these nonprofits are figuring out how to work together, how to partner and say, okay, you do this well, just you do that, and we'll partner with you, and we'll offer this other side of that. And so maybe the city has a role in helping to be a part of some of those conversations. I really don't know with legality and what's appropriate. I think it starts with conversations and figuring out, doing a little legwork on how are some of these larger cities partnering and what are they doing? Because you're right, if it's not just, it affects every angle of our community. If these kids are going to school hungry and they don't have clothes, well, then that's going to affect long-term economic growth in our community. You think about these individuals that we will be turning out, and we want them to be contributing members of society. We want them to feel like their community supported them and gave them the very basics to thrive and to learn. And you can't learn if you're coming to school hungry, and you can't learn if you're
where you slept in the car.
Yeah, you slept in the car, or you're getting teased because you wore the same outfit, 5 days in a row, and it stinks or it's dirty,
Well, I read a couple of articles in more conservative-leaning publications, Wall Street Journal and National Review, and they actually advocated certain public uses of money, which for them, that's a big deal, right?
Well, I'd love for you to share those articles with me.
All right. Both the articles were about the truancy problem in schools and how we got to do something about it, and it's going to take public money to do it. But on the bigger picture, when we think of homeless, we think of what's going on in Lancaster, right under the bridge and all this other stuff. But what both Jennifer and Debbie saying that you got more people either without a permanent address or home, and they slept a week on a couch here, and they slept in a car overnight, and stuff like that. That's what we're getting more and more of.
More and more. When I worked for the school district, I would hear about that. They're claiming this is their address. It is this week, but next week it could be somebody else's. They're couch surfing. They're jumping from extended family member to extended family member or a friend. And I mean, that's.
Well, this is going to date me quite a bit, just because this happened early in my teaching career. But in the early 90s, the governor at that time, Ann Richards, wanted to incorporate those school clinics in a public way, in the sense of open them up to the public, not just for the students of that school. The problem is twofold. One is the hours they were talking about would be about 24/7, and so you're going to be allowing people into that building, and
that's not safe.
That's not safe. Second of all, they were going to provide abortion counseling and pills and all this other stuff without parental. And I was really opposed to that. But and so it fell apart. It cost her election. She got pounded by W. Bush in her reelection attempt. But I according to these articles, it's like there has to be a way to incorporate what we already have in a public sense to provide something other than just an education or whatever other service we're talking about. The article's talking about, why don't we create you brought up the clinic idea, and also it's something we wouldn't have thought of as a laundromat. Yeah. Because we don't think of that, but a lot of these kids,
But in the city, in our city limits, we have one laundromat, and it is always busy.
Right, but not just that, but it'd be a laundromat that, the way he described it, people could, the student could work to get a card, and because now you don't use quarters as much, and they do their own laundry and have the cafeteria open and all this other stuff. Now that's way beyond. That's just what if right now, but we need.
Sometimes we have to throw out big ideas and see what sticks. And
I know the mayor and others have said, and a lot of people agree. Two things I agree with the mayor on this is that we have a lot of rather private nonprofits that really doing, and churches and all that
that are doing well.
Yeah. Second of all, he and you would have to deal with where to put such a place because they'd come to the council and raise all sorts of hell if they were putting a homeless shelter in their neighborhood area or near a school or near a business. So that those things have to be dealt with or discussed. And so it's not. I don't think it's because the 7 of y'all lack any compassion for these people. No. I just think there's a lot of issues, but I wish we could do something more than just donate to the nonprofits and put all the burden upon them. You know, because it's a tough deal.
It is.
You know, we have that medical clinic, but it's a nonprofit, and
isn't it run by? It's part of First Baptist, right? Promises?
Well, Promises and Pathway supply the property and a lot of the building of it and all this other stuff. But they
and then local physicians volunteer their time.
Well, yes, it's part of the Christian Physicians Network, and I have 2 ladies in my Sunday school class that volunteer. And they said they could be open 24/7 and still have a waiting list.
Sure.
I mean, because it's not meant for Medicaid; it's meant for working poor people that work at this.
You make a little bit of money, so you're not like that's the part of the system I just will never understand. It's like we almost discourage some people from getting a job because then that knocks you out of this category. But hey, I have a chronically ill child, and if I don't fall in, so you're telling me I can benefit more for my family if I just flat out don't work. And
that's what happened to one of my students.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Like I want, this was something when I was working for Chet, he talked about the cuts to the chip program. And he's like, this is an encouragement to those families that want to work, that try to do some level of supporting their family, but it doesn't mean that they lose this health benefit for their children.
Is your friend Kent Tucker is very kind.
Oh, Kent.
Yeah, he says, Burleson, so fortunate to have Victoria on the city council with an exclamation point. Very visionary and focused on serving the citizens. I definitely concur.
Well,
but back to the...
and he and I got to work on a lot of these things. When I worked for the hospital and he was serving there, that was when, they made some changes to the hospitals and saying you could only keep your nonprofit status if you were showing that big issues that are basically driving the numbers to your ERs. You're trying to be on the front end and be more proactive and saying like, we know diabetes leads to X, Y, and Z, and then ultimately they're in your ER. How can you get on the front end of that and try and have treatment plans and meal plans and health and fitness so that things that you can impact on your own, try and do those things. And then you had to report those numbers. And we got to create some really cool programs. I loved my time at the hospital and working with Kent. It was a lot of fun. But, and I think we've moved away a little bit recently, I feel, from having some of these partnerships. Just in our last meeting, I believe, or the meeting before, Dan brought up, where's Be Healthy stand? Well, it used to be while it was a city initiative, Hughley Hospital and Texas Health Burleson and lots of the owners of different fitness centers, or, was it the Cryo Club? There were several people that came together and had a board, and we talked about, these are the issues that I'm seeing and that we're facing. How can we collectively think about being on the front end and addressing some of these issues before they become substantial health issues for our entire community? Yeah. And diabetes is an epidemic, but it's one that can be reversed with food, and not every case. I'm not going to say that, but overwhelmingly it can be positively impacted by just walking, by food choices. And some of these areas of our community may not have access to that healthy food.
Well,
I see, on Harvest House social media, they'll say, right now we could really use fresh produce. And that's some things that some of us take for granted. I planted this garden in my backyard, and last year I was overrun with squash, and then I would go put it in the blessing boxes and say, please go grab that before it shrinks up because of the heat. But, we just have to get innovative and have community gardens and community composting. What can we do to help each other that doesn't exactly take a bunch of government resources, but takes time from willing people?
Wow, I really pulled your string on that one. That's a passionate. You were really.
I care. I care about our community.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about helping people and let's problem solve together. Let's find solutions.
And see, what's interesting is because you and I are pretty close to the same, because you want to have the private sector amp it up, and I would like to see the public sector amp it up. And that's a conversation we would not have had 20 years ago.
No, yeah.
Because after you live a life a little bit, you realize answers aren't so black and white. And
No.
I would personally, I understand the problem. I say have a homeless shelter or some sort of halfway house or whatever else in the community because somebody would be negatively impacted, and you would hear about it.
You would. But I also don't know that, you and I talked about that. We had a couple shows back where we talked about the increase of homelessness that we're seeing. It's not that it didn't already exist here. It's just that we're seeing it when they take away, when infrastructure and businesses and things come in and it removes their encampment spaces. So now they're just more out, but we don't have public transportation. So they're not going to be coming here in droves. But the answer there, it's not illegal to be homeless. And there's some that choose that and we don't know why, but just being kind and compassionate and offering what we can. You said Robin keeps a pack of crackers in a water bottle and hands that. Sometimes it's that simple, just showing someone like, you matter, I see you, and I care about you. You are here for a reason. And I said a silent prayer for you, and I hope you're safe and you are connected with the resources that you need if you're wanting those resources.
Okay. I'm sorry. I got a text here. I just, they were talking about some other things, but anyway, but we have to do something. I could see almost the fatigue in the faces of the nonprofits I talk to because the emotional burden of not having everything they want or need to take care of this. Because Jennifer and Debbie both said they probably have increased usage by 50%.
Yeah. I went through a tour there and they said their numbers are very high and they're doing the best with the resources that they have. But I think we need, let's have a collaborative committee. Like, let's sit down, nonprofits, the city, the school district. And sometimes we all get so like, you're just getting your teeth knocked in. And so you have a little bit of tunnel vision, right? You're like, I've just got to do this thing because I know how to do this thing. And we all have to take a minute and a step back and say, this problem's broader than the way we're looking at it. Let's all sit down at the table. What are you seeing? How can I help you? What are you seeing? Well, how can this person help you? How do we divide and conquer?
And if we have those type of conversations, the two things we need to leave out of them is partisanship and
100%.
Ideology.
100%.
Because, if we go in there with the preset disposition about some of these things that the homeless deserve it or some other crap like that, you're not going to solve anything.
No.
And
you have to be willing to have the conversations.
And be accused of being, either
one thing or another.
A rhino or
gosh,
a
forbid
moderate Democrat. My God.
Yeah. Gosh forbid you talk about people, children going to school, not being fed and not having clean clothes. Oh, well, that's
not my problem.
Yeah, it's not my problem, but it's our whole community's problem.
It is our problem.
When one succeeds, we all succeed.
Well, it's not just that. It's also, particularly as an ex-teacher, I could tell you that when kids would come to school unprepared to learn because of their home situation, sometimes it's because of family abuse or violence.
Sure.
Sometimes it was what we're talking about here, economic distress, all this other stuff. They ain't learning.
No.
And they're not progressing.
No.
And they also miss a lot of school.
And then it becomes behavioral issues. And then it becomes, there's cycles that we're not breaking. And we have to figure out how to, as a community, how do we break those cycles? Because like I said, we want our whole community to be successful. We want this to be a place that people learn, live, grow, succeed, because it benefits us all.
Well, we're almost at the end of the show.
Already? We just ran out of time.
Well, we get these conversations like this.
And I could talk. I get passionate about I love my role. I love what I'm able to do and the things that we're able to work on. And I'm really proud of the current council that we have and that we're able to have professional debates and walk away shaking hands and listen to each other. It's it's really been a good experience. I'm enjoying
better
it.
experience, and for us as well.
I'm glad.
And
we want to make this community proud.
Well, next time we talk, your kids will be back to go to school. You can be pretty busy. Yay.
I miss routine. I thrive on stability and I like structure. This, hey, can you watch my kids today? Because I've got a meeting with Allard, or tomorrow I'm going to go tour the Grand Prairie Public Safety Center.
Bring your kids.
Oh, I don't know about that. They'll be like, can I get the mic?
Well, I've had that before.
Oliver will give you a whole lecture on every dinosaur that ever walked the earth.
Probably help my numbers. I don't know. I've had children on before with their parents, Some a little older than Oliver. How old is he? About 7?
He's 5.
5. Okay.
He turned 6 in a month.
Oh no, they grow so fast.
They do.
You know, he's going into first grade.
First grade, and Audrey's going into 3rd.
At Nola Dunn, right?
Yes.
Well,
I love our school. I love our community.
well, I'm going to try to get BISD back. They will be back on the show in September.
Sure.
But I want them back in August because of other things. Because I miss having them on. You know, but Michaela said, "Good luck getting people to come go on vacations and all this other stuff." And you know, they're out almost the entire month of July. So, anyway, so we'll get that. I want to get that back up and running again, and they're looking forward to it. That's a really good show for me. I enjoy it. Anyway, tomorrow we're talking to a young lady named Allison Stolner from Gilmore Solutions. It's a business service company, and they're new to this area. So, we'll see what we can do for them. And then we have Reach Across Johnson County, and they're going to talk about their mental health seminar coming up in October. Also, September 22nd. You got to drop by for that. You talk about coordinating and all this?
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at my calendar.
Yeah,
what you got?
It's the National or State Giving Day. That's the 22nd. It's 21st.
Okay.
It's a Thursday.
It's usually a Thursday. I was going to say.
Yeah, I get last year's
Giving
22nd.
Day. Mm-hmm.
And they had the 7 ladies that run these things.
Fantastic.
And it was very touching how well they got along, how collegiate they were, how collegial, that's the word, how they all pulled for each other, and they were so complimentary. And I've had them on individually, and they just, I just love that person. She does this wonderful work. So we're blessed that we have already those type of groups that already see themselves as part of a larger mission. Not just their own little outfit, but the whole community, and how do these other community outfits help? It was one of my very favorite shows.
Cool. I look forward to it.
All right,
Thanks,
September
Mr.
21st,
Allard.
you bet. And Taylor, you doing all right?
I'm here.
Well, we had all that technical glitches at the beginning, so how?
Yeah, power surge.
Are they going to be able to access the show without any problem?
Yeah, should be normal.
Okay.
They shouldn't see any issues. It was only us.
Oh, okay. All
We'll
right.
see them next month.
All right. Bye-bye, y'all.
Bye.